Hey folks, welcome back. Hey, we are doing Spelljammer combat and exploration artwork. This is the book cover that we created back around episode 15 of this stream, and I'm going to check my signaling here. Looks like we're at episode 189 today, and we have 190 followers. So thanks a lot, folks, for jumping on board with us. We really appreciate this stuff. Well, I do. It's the royal we, right? With us. We really appreciate this stuff. Sounds like signal's coming through. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna go through my intro spiel here real quick, and then we'll get to work for about 100 minutes. So let's see. Chugga. Okay, great. So intro here. Hey, my name is Theurgy. Hi. I create role-playing game supplements. I publish them online. I illustrate them. I do layouts as well as the mechanical design work. I stream 6 days a week, 9 times during that time in the mornings and evenings. We'll walk through my schedule here in just a little bit, but I focus my attention on publishing 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons right now. There is a slew of links. Hold on. There are yeah, there's a slew of links in the description down below. They all have extensive previews. If you're a D&D enthusiast, check this stuff out. If you think it's cool, make a purchase to support the stream. If you aren't a D&D enthusiast, there's probably about 150 different illustrations across the various books. So that gives you an idea of how we are evolving over time. So let's see here. And cool. Okay, good. So we're done there. You can find out more about me and follow on Twitter at Theurgy to catch signal when we go live like we've just done. Otherwise, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon here to get notification when I'm live in the future as well here directly on YouTube. Right now, what we're working on is ships and equipment. This is the Orrery Station. I'll probably talk about the Orrery Station here in a little bit, but we're designing a character right now. So we're going to get back into that. We stream Monday through Friday here in the morning for a couple hours to create the Spelljammer art on Monday and Thursday nights, including this evening. We work on tokens and maps for the Eberron adventure that we've been creating. And then on Tuesday during our lunch stream tomorrow, we do mechanical development for the book which will have come out next year. Which is the Martial Power System, which offers a spell point system for exploits, maneuvers, reactions, strikes, and sustained powers for barbarians, fighters, monks, rangers, rogues, paladins, and a little bit for artificers and warlocks. It's probably going to be about a 60-page overhaul of just alternate spell mechanics that full casters don't get, that put Martial on an even leg, sort of like I think what folks were... we're looking at more like a complete scoundrel, complete adventure stuff from 3rd edition, as well as various skill powers that are on 4th edition, and then blending them into a spell point system that can be applied to any classes in that list. So you can check that stuff out on Tuesday lunch tomorrow as well, but we're going to get back into this. So face is good, hat is good. We're working on some garment here. So yeah, that needs some cleaning up. We're coming along nicely, but it does need cleanup. So let's drop that to there. And then we're going to drop the clothing down to there. And let's check on... Face still feels pretty good. Let's do a little bit of cleanup here on the hair. There we go. It's spiky. It'll fix when we colorize. But for now, I'm kind of digging it. And this is over the ears, so I don't have to worry about getting rid of the face frame, because I'm going to do color blocking. And the blocks of color will resolve the line art for the face. So don't need to worry about that. Oh yeah, and then on Saturday, we do commission work and private projects, so like non-production work. Right now, we have been creating paint brushes and using them using various wet-on-wet methods of landscape illustration that Bob Ross had introduced, that I had integrated into my digital environment workflow a few years ago, and now I'm proficient enough with the system after a couple hundred paintings that I can explain how to create brushes on the fly and use them to reproduce happy mountains and other things. So that's a fun process. It's kind of random. Like, we just build a random brush and then use it and see if it works, and then try to take it to where we can take it. And if we end up liking it, we'll offer it in a .abr file on my Patreon at Phil Kearney, link down below, that you can pick up the brush set from at no cost, just as contribution to the community as a whole. I don't think people understand how to use digital tools to produce the wet-on-wet effect that Bob offers, but it's super easy to do. It just takes a little practice. So that's pretty good. We're gonna go back into here now. I like how the clothing is coming along. This guy, it's just sloppily constructed right now. That's good. That's better. Give me a moment here and we'll talk about what we're looking at here. I like everything that's going on in this piece. I just don't like how I did it. Nurr. That's better. Oop, nope, that goes up to there and then it hooks in. So we need to do the same here to hook in. Nice. All right, so orrery stations. It's a wondrous item uncommon. A wild space orrery can be attached to a spelljamming helm by placing it in an orrery station. Multiple orrery stations can be attached to a spelljamming ship, and spelljamming helms are also orrery stations. Whenever the supplement mentions using an orrery, it is assumed the orrery is attached to a spelljamming ship, using either an Orrery Station or a Spelljamming Helm unless otherwise stated. A Wild Space Orrery is a portable arcane device that can detect and track the movement of massive objects within a wild space system. As described in SAS, the character can attune to an orrery to use its basic features. Instead of attuning to it, focusing on an orrery placed in an Orrery Station or a Spelljamming Helm attached to a ship grants the additional benefits. A creature can use the orrery without attunement. A creature can see and hear what's happening on and around the ship as if the creature were standing in a location of its choice aboard the ship. A creature can sense objects at great distances, as described in the exploration section below, which I'm incredibly proud of the detection mechanics we have in this book. A creature can perform actions listed under the support and commander roles, detailed below in the ship roles section. Below. Okay, that's an edit. SCP, what up, dude? How are you? What's going on? I need to make a spot edit here to this text. So let's get into my book here that we're building all this artwork for. Let's get it back to this one here for when we come back to it. The text will pop up in a moment, and when it does, we'll fix the text. Hey, SC. Finally completed my Ing 10. Hey, right on, my guy. Let's go down to the text here in the Word document is organized differently than we have it in this Photoshop book here. Because we liked how the text fit better on the pages as such, but I do need to fix them. So let's go to the necklace. That's the message amplifier. There. Ziclite messaging. We don't need to say see below anymore because when we rearrange the text, Ziclite signaling is now ahead of this block of text. So that's fixed. And then Orrery Station down here, we had a redundant Orrery Station comment. Listed under the support and command roles, detailed in the ship role section below. Are those the only two flaws I had on this particular page? Yeah. Cool, baby. Save that up. Keep it out of the way. That goes like that. Yeah, the way that the Spelljammer, for those that knows, for D&D enthusiasts that were disappointed with how the 5th edition Spelljammer mechanics were introduced in 5th edition, we've offered this book is full of additional or alternate mechanics to either complement or replace those that were offered by Wizards Spelljammers in Space. So one of the changes that we have is how characters use equipment and command ships in different roles. So when it's talking about the support and the commander roles that are described in the combat section, ship roles section down below, while you're at it, and we were talking about on the previous page the other day, we were talking about how I am fantastic. The weekend is over, and I take Sundays off. I just don't work on Sundays. Spend the time with my gal, and so it's in the past I will get overly compulsive about artwork production, so I would put in 12, 16 hours a day when I was able, and I've got a long-standing relationship, so I needed to find a little bit better work-life balance to be able to sustain that relationship during larger book projects like this. So the agreement that I made was I can pursue my purpose as much as I want during the week, but I have to limit my stream hours, and I take Sunday off. So that was a worthwhile arrangement, and it helped keep me in perspective, and it helps me from getting overly, like I was saying, overly obsessed with the project, which will ultimately also help me prevent burnout. So it was worth the change, but it is a slower production rate than what the Color Mana books that I have linked down below. Those were the results of 16-hour days for like 3 months of art production, most of which was not on stream. I'm streaming a lot more with this book than I had with any of those books, and I'm liking the results. I've evolved in art quite a bit over the past couple of years since I started producing those books. So I'm really, really proud of where I'm at, and amazingly, reality has accommodated my agreement by allowing me to produce better quality art at a faster rate, which is just amazing. So I am incredibly happy with the proposed sacrifice that I was willing to make to sustain a relationship. Ended up rewarding me with better production in general. Anyway, it was pretty magical. I really like using box frames and stuff as actual physical objects, is why I like lining up the edge of getting the table lined up here and using that as a thing. I spy with my eye something that is text. Need sleep? Sleep. I get about 5 hours. I got 5 hours of sleep last night. It's not unusual for me to get 5 hours of sleep. Honestly, Sunday is a splash out and catch up on sleep for both of us. She runs a business and I've got 2 jobs, so we use the opportunity on Sunday to sleep in, catch up, lay low. It is not a very adulty sort of day. That is, we don't get any adulting done typically. It is a play day. Like if I'm gonna go see a movie, it's gonna be on Sunday. You know, if I'm gonna go Dave and Buster's and blow $20 on arcade machine, it'll be on a Sunday. I was excited to work on this piece today because character art like this allows me to improvise materials and objects like this. Like this work apron that we're putting on this artificer. We get to just let the lines just create themselves and make objects and sense out of what line art we put onto the page. Like all these little swoops and swoodles, that all gets to be turned into stuff. Well, some of it does. Others gets cast aside, but the language is there, and I like building it really organically like this. That like that. My alarm turned over. My alarm turned over. I didn't really notice it. It's time for coffee. Started reading to stop me from doing crochet. Right on. It's bar time. Yeah, when we start illustrating the combat chapter, we'll have an opportunity to talk a lot more about ship rolls. Although I have devoted development sessions of this, like back around, probably like around episode 30. I think was probably when we were just talking offhand about ship rolls in general. Okay, the production time on this book is admittedly ridiculously long. As a solo project, it's actually moving pretty quickly, but overall, it's a slow process. So. Over the past year of developing, writing, playtesting, layouts, and illustrations for this, we're at 8:07. We're at August 7th, 2023, when we're streaming today, and I began this book on, I want to say 8/17/2022. So we're almost at the anniversary mark of having started putting text on page for this project, and we're still probably 40 illustrations away from being completed, which is pretty good considering there's like 90 some odd illustrations. So we're past the halfway mark. That means we might have it finished in September. I want to be a little wary of over-promising. It's already been a year. Like, I mean, the rush is manic because every day I go on to Reddit and Discords related to Spelljammer. People ask questions. How do I blank? And like I have answers to every single one of those questions. So it's like I just want to say, hey, go check out the free preview on page 62 for how I handled it, and here's some additional thoughts about it. But I can't do that yet because the damn thing ain't published. So I end up it's like, hey, here's a couple paragraphs about that idea, but this thing's gonna be finished here in a little bit, so check it out. It'll be so much greater once this thing is actually finished that I can start actually providing full detailed information to anybody that's asking questions like, hey, check this thing out. This is what we can do for you. I'm actually excited about having a product that is a mechanical book that people are asking a lot of questions for information for. It's very exciting. Like before this, my biggest project was the color mana spell point variant rules. There's not a lot of people out there that care about using Magic 5 color system in D&D. Those are my biggest projects, but they're also very, very niche. So they don't have a ton of curb appeal that people are constantly asking questions for, that I can't just, if people are asking questions about how MTG color magic system can be integrated into D&D as much as they're asking how they can do anything involving Spelljammer, the color mana system would already be platinum. It'd have thousands of sales. But color is not as exciting. So hopefully Spelljammer is going to be able to get me a lot more lift so I can do more projects and help build more folks showing up on the stream, even if they're just asking questions about what I produced. It's an opportunity for me to offer more information. And once that book is published, I can start doing little tangent things like space mecha. The mecha is a big reason for me to build this system in the first place, because I freaking love Gundam, Robotech, Escaflowne, BattleTech, Warhammer. The base chassis of this 5e scaling combat system works with any of those IPs. So it'll be exciting once I get these core mechanics out to embellish on them with additional 10, 15, 30 piece expansions, either on DMsGuild or as DTRPG or on my Patreon. This book is just the beginning of other things that we can do. Like using the mechanics in this book, we can create like 300-foot giants and have them be engaged with the characters using airships or their own giant mecha to be able to fight giants on giants. Pathfinder is so far ahead of the trope narrative than Wizards can ever be. I don't know how Wizards is a huge company and they are way understaffed, so it's a lumbering beast that takes forever to take a step, and when it does, no one is surprised by it. They don't do anything innovative. Pathfinder Paizo is a far more nimble company that is a lot more innovative and explores a lot more fantasy tropes and provides strong mechanics for them. I just like 5e mechanically better than Pathfinder, so I don't do anything for Pathfinder. But one of the things that I do in general is create mechanical solutions that Wizards hasn't invested time in producing. Like, that's my niche. If I go to Pathfinder, my niche is going to shift because they cover a lot more ground than Wizards does. They're also very, very different in design. There. I'm leaning way too much into that picture. Constellations. So Wizards introduced this thing called an orrery. It's like a little pocket watch, and when you click it, it displays a system map, kind of like what we got going on here. So the orrery station that we created is basically a device, a table, or other, like a pillar or an object that occupies a 5-foot space that you can plug the watch into and click, and then it creates a larger effect that more people can interact with, which is what we're demonstrating here. And so you can have multiple people standing around this station, and they can be contributing their action economy, their D&D combat action economy, actions, bonus actions, reactions, into things that can affect the ship and things going on around the ship. As Spelljammer is written, that's something that the pilot can do in the spelljamming helm, but that becomes an isolated position that only one person can use that equipment at a time. So there needs to be another form of interaction for players and different characters to be a part of affecting the ship directly during combat, so that ship combat becomes less of a setting piece. Like if you were fighting in a steam geyser forest, right? Once per round, the DM may make a check to see if there's a new gout of steam that rises up out of an unseen, kind of like in The Princess Bride, the fire swamp. There'd be pop, 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 and then there'd be a gout of fire that the characters had to avoid to prevent taking damage. And Spelljammer ships, as presented by Wizards, is kind of like that. Like once per round, the ship might get hit by a silo of ballista bolts or something, and then the ship takes damage unless the ship pilot. Well, actually, in Spelljammer's Adventures in Space, there's literally nothing the pilot can do about that. You're either hit or you aren't. The ship either takes damage or it doesn't. But we make the ship kind of like a horse that everyone is riding at the same time. And although only one person is actually holding the reins, everyone's on the horse. So if the horse is being attacked, like if you have got a shield, you can drop your shield to protect the horse from being shot by an arrow. Or like if you've got somebody on the back of the horse and they've got a lance, they can lean that over the shoulder of the guy that's holding the reins, so the horse can remain super maneuverable and still be impaling people with a war lance. Like that's the kind of approach that we have with Spelljammer ships using these mechanics, where anyone that's plugged into machinery that can interact with the ship can contribute actions like that. Siege commanders can order ballistas and catapults to fire at other ships, but this orrery station allows for support actions like preventing an attack from damaging the ship. Like I'm going to use my reaction and create a shield to negate the damage that this volley of fire would cause. Or I can, since they can see anywhere on and around the ship, they can assist a siege team to help aim and target an enemy vessel, so that the siege crew gets an advantage to the attack roll when they fire a volley of ballista bolts at an enemy ship, for instance. This is some of the action economy that we can use to help characters, if there isn't anybody on board the deck to attack or to cast spells at right now, they can instead use their action economy to engage other ships with the rest of the team. And now, if you get into a more complicated battle where there's multiple ships, one of them is attempting to board your ship right now. Now everyone on deck has to split their action economy between fighting the ship and fighting the boarding crew. And depending on how you want to specialize your character and what actions you want to take to contribute to helping the success of the team, you can divide your actions. Like I'm going to spend a bonus action helping the ballista team reload while using my reaction and attacks per round to strike down this creature that just boarded our ship's deck, for instance. So they stay away from the siege crew so they can't stop us from firing at the enemy vessel. That sort of stuff. So it's a fun real-time blend. Like you only have so much action economy per round. Now you're just deciding, am I going to divide it up amongst these giant 500-foot ship enemies, or am I going to drill down and focus my attention on somebody that I can personally shoot or stab or cast a spell at on deck or on the enemy's deck that's within range. So it's a lot more, it's operating at multiple scales at the same time. So some of the, in the combat section of this book, we spend time focusing on map management, scaling in and out of different, like using different micro maps to scale in and out of what's on deck and what's in space around you, so that you can see like literally side by side what's going on with my ships and what's going on the deck of my ship, what's going on the deck of that ship, and what's the larger environment that all of this is taking place in all at the same time. On a virtual tabletop, you can just parse out different sections of your VTT to manage these different instances of the same round of combat and move back and forth between them. But a tabletop where there's much less, like a virtual tabletop can handle like a 100 inch by 100 inch space broken up into 1 squares, and that is a massive space. I rarely need more than 50 by 50 or like 60 by 60. Rarely do I need, like 80 is way more than I ever need. Even all my Ebron maps, none of them are larger than 75 by 75, and those are just massive maps. And so we don't deal with anything nearly that large in this supplement. So you can actually have like a 10 by 10 grid for dog fighting, for people boarding your ship, and then you can have like a 20 by 20, like a 24 by 24 for actual space exploration and navigating between ships beyond dogfighting scale. And so that basically means you need 40 inches of space, but you can have separate pallets. Like I can put a 10 by 10 on a board like this and just, oops. I unplugged my thing. I think we're okay now. There we go, back together. But yeah, you can have these little plates that you can put small maps on to represent dogfighting between 2 ships, or for sections of 50-foot ships. You can have them on these little separate pallets while you have the larger map overall sitting on your kitchen table as a centerpiece. So it's just, again, it's just managing maps. How are you physically maneuvering between different map environments during your game? If you're using a VTT, non-issue, but you can't assume people are using. Even though I use VTT all the time, I can never assume anyone else is. So turrets are fun. But the way that, and we'll go into this more when we get into the siege weapons section of the combat chapter when we start illustrating those weapons. But just to randomly talk about it here to fill content. The way that it works is like a ballista, for instance, requires 5 actions it requires 3 actions from either one character or broken up amongst multiple characters to load, aim, and fire a ballista, and it takes 5 actions it takes 2 actions to load, 2 actions to aim, and 1 action to fire for a trebuchet, for a mangonel, which is like a really it throws rocks on a lever arm, but it takes more actions to load and fire one of those than a ballista, which is basically just a really big crossbow. And then there's trebuchet, which are like giant, like ropes, it's like a whirly doodle that it slings up a shot and fires a really big stone in comparison to the lever arm mangonels. And those require 7 actions. 3, I think it's like, is it 4 to load, 2 to aim, and 1 to fire? But it requires like all these actions. And if you only have 1 action per round, it takes either your entire party 2 rounds to fire a trebuchet, or 1 character 7 rounds. And most combat is over in 4 to 6 rounds. So like you can fire that trebuchet once, and that's all your character's ever going to do. It's a complete waste. So the way that we restructured siege weapon combat is you have a siege crew of like, you know, non-player characters, ship crew that you hire on to bring on your quests with you. And they're the ones that actually load, aim, and fire the weapons. You're using your actions to command them to do so. And so depending on the rank of the crew, depends on how many actions they have available to them to be able to fire the weapons each round. So like you could have a crew of 3 novice combatants be able to load and fire a trebuchet every time you command them to do so. So if you have 2 or 3 attacks per round, you could order 2 or 3 weapons to fire at once, and then let the crew use their action economy to reload, aim, and fire the weapon when you command them to do so. And you can do that either by standing next to them and actually like using your own action economy to help expedite that, if that's what you're doing, or like from an orrery station here, you could be commanding across the ship, like deck A, ballista A and B fire at that skiff that's flying by. All other weapons fire at the dragon. Like for instance, that's the kind of things that you can do with what we've introduced in the system. And it's just action economy management and providing fun narrative as to why you would do that. And then you have to protect your crew. And if the crew dies and you have less people, then it slows down their rate of fire, so you have to protect your crew. It's cool. It's really fluid. It's the playtesting went fantastic with it. We had multiple sessions from basically like level 3 to 17, and it worked out. It worked out every time. So, really, really proud and enthusiastic about that. It's a different way to approach action economy, and how to implement, hired NPCs. Anyway, I kind of ran out of steam in that conversation. Kind of trailing off there a little bit, but yeah, that's again, we're just talking about action economy in space combat, in the role-playing game, and how can you use ship roles to be dynamic and fast-paced and exciting, as opposed to, like, as presented, space combat is very, very slow and ponderous. Like, you can do one thing per round maybe, and not everyone on your ship really has anything to contribute at all. So it's a bit of a challenge. I'm really proud of providing really fun, dynamic options, which we can expand into other things like mass combat, when being in command of a whole platoon of troops that are fighting, like, say, a single creature. We can use similar mechanics for you as the squadron, as the commander of the platoon, to be able to order them to coordinate their attacks against various enemies that you're facing on the battlefield. It uses the same sort of action economy logic. It actually started, this whole system actually started with mass combat, and how can we have a single character ordering multiple creatures under their command, and then we're like, well, can this work for vehicles? And it does. We took those mechanics and we built them out using Descent into Avernus, which is a Mad Max sort of demon car sort of fantasy, which I love. I absolutely love Descent into Avernus for the Mad Max stuff that they offered there. Basically, demons and devils doing Mad Max stuff, like literally Mad Max. If you haven't seen that movie. There's the Road Warrior, Beyond Thunderdome, the original Mad Max, and then there's also Fury Road. And they're all really good movies. I would say my favorite is Road Warrior, and then I gotta say, I think it's Beyond Thunderdome, then Fury Road, and then the original Mad Max movie. But Mel Gibson, except for Fury Road, is Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron. But that's a great film too. It's just a gorgeous film. But being able to fulfill those truck mechanics and that fantasy of having a war rig with a bunch of siege weapons and fending off while you're barreling down a highway is super cool. So the mechanics that we originally developed were meant for that, and those playtests were going perfectly. And then Spelljammer happened, and like, well, can we convert these truck mechanics into spaceships? And the answer is, not only can we, but all the truck mechanics that we built, it can be used for fighter craft, like TIE fighters and X-wings or Gundam, all that stuff, all the smaller craft that are 50 feet or smaller. Like an X-wing is 40 feet long, who knew? A TIE fighter is 35 feet wide. So in this system, any fighter craft is less than 50 feet or smaller in size, while a vessel, like a carrier ship, is more than 50 feet in size. So that distinction helps us classify, like, targeting ships at different scales. Like if you're a fighter craft, then you have certain advantages that vessels don't, while larger vessels have a lot of... I can go into all of that when we get down to that section a little bit further. But there's a significant... Oops, this is stupid looking. I need to fix this. So by changing the action economy so that you can move, attack, and do stuff each round, it opens up fighter craft dogfighting. So you can jump onto like a 15-foot fighter ship and fly off the deck of your ship and go attack a dragon. You know, and when you're done, you come back and you dock your ship, and now you're back aboard the vessel. Or you can send out, as a DM, I can send out a swarm. Need intelligence check for using ships. Yeah. It's either an intelligence check, a dexterity check. You could also use your constitution or your wisdom. So it just depends on. It's a pilot check basically. So in Descent into Avernus, the fighter craft uses either uses dexterity or intelligence. And this just opens up more up. Like the vessels, you can use more things. Like barbarians are a perfectly viable pilot. Like if you drive with rage, road rage is like a thing. I haven't created any subclasses yet. I wanted the system to come out first, and then I can introduce subclasses for various classes to complement what these things can do. But you can be raging while piloting a ship, and the pilot operates like claws and any kind, like the ram or any melee weapons that ships have. So a raging barbarian absolutely can use reckless attack with ship weapons. So you can actually use your character's normal combat features while piloting a ship, so that you can grant whatever benefits your character has. You can then expand them to affect how the ship, because the ship is basically treated like a creature. Like I said, it was like a mount. Like if you're riding a dragon or everyone's riding a horse together, you can then apply. But it's also you. Like when you cast self spells, like things that can target yourself. If you're plugged into an orrery or a spelljamming helm, then self includes the ship. Either you at your own 5-foot scale, or the ship at the 50 or 500-foot scale. So just like a rogue pilot, a barbarian pilot, a bard pilot, a paladin pilot can use divine smite through melee weapons on the ship. Like every class has really good reasons to be the pilot, and has really good reasons to let someone else be the pilot. Like there's so many, like if you're doing a lot of fighter ship combat, having a fighter that can make 3 attacks with grappling weapons, for instance, can jump on board and start tearing a ship apart. While a paladin could be channeling divine smites through these melee attacks. A rogue has additional action economy, so they can actually maneuver more and dash with the ship and be able to get into positions that others wouldn't so easily be able to do so. While a bard can use their inspiration here at an Ori station to assist anyone else aboard the ship to perform whatever tasks they're doing, or can cast spells through the Ori or the spelljamming helm to affect other ships or creatures they can see aboard other ships, or even creatures aboard their own ship that they want to assist in combat. So you can provide like bardic inspiration, counter charm, stuff like that from the bridge to help anybody aboard this or a ship within range. So it's all the same action economy, most of the same class features. You're just using them at different scales and in different ways, which isn't a wholly unique concept. There's been other people that have introduced ideas like that over the past year, but I haven't seen anybody have anything as extensive, comprehensive, self-referential, and basically complete in a single system that's been thought through. One of the things that I will say with confidence about my work is that it is thorough. I cover a shitload of bases so that there's a ton of answers, so that there's so many answers to how this stuff work that you can extrapolate. If an idea comes up that we hadn't already thought of and provided an answer for, you can use the stuff that we already have inside of here to easily rule how you like the game is like rulings, not rules, right? But you need enough rules to help frame reference for why are you making a ruling. How can you be self-reinforcing, self-referencing, and consistent across multiple campaigns using the same rule system if you don't have enough rules to build a system from. That's why my stuff takes so well. I mean, the artwork takes for freaking ever. That is true. But just building things out takes a long time because you're trying to cover all of those bases to provide as much reference content to make for strong DMing as possible. This all my stuff, even if it's player content, is designed to be DM facing. A DM has to approve your character to use this thing. So what can we do to make sure that the DM feels that it's improving the game and that they have cool new tools in their toolbox to use against the players when they grant them access to what these new mechanics are implying you can do, for instance. I'm dealing with a lot of hypotheticals right now. Like a lot of vagaries, but the books are full of specific examples. I'm just speaking loosely because I'm rambling. Because I'm coffified. Hey, what up? Give me another shipmaster. Yes! Exactly. Exactly. Literally true. Vicious mockery to make your siege crew just... What's the point of loading yet another stone? Firing yet again at an enemy that has demonstrated that there's absolutely no point to it. It's like Psalms. It's so depressing. How are you doing this? Yeah, that feels right. I mean, this is going to get colorized, and this line art is going to end up blending in to help soften the fabric. The softer the fabric you want, the less hard edge line work you want inside of in the interior of the folds of that fabric that you're working with. So I'm like this mantle here will have a clearly defined line along the bottom edge here, but as we move into this into these folds, that line art will soften considerably. While these folds here, will also fade into it. But like this cuff fold here, that'll remain hard edged. So it doesn't really matter how much attention I give to these folds, but I like doing it because I can. Honestly, a lot of what I do in these books is because I simply can. The whole reason I started making books is because I wasn't getting paid enough to do the artwork that I was capable of doing for third-party content producers that needed artwork for their books like this. At some point, I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna love the projects I'm working on because they're not mine, and I'm only so on board with what these commissions are. And plus, I'm not getting paid what I want, and I'm not being given the artistic freedom that I want. So it only made sense that I was like, screw it. Why don't I just make my own books? And I can illustrate them. I can be my own art director. I can make the art that I want inspired by the books that I want to create. And I can sell the books to pay myself a salary for the artwork that I make. There's a lot of extra steps there, I realized, over the past couple years. But it honestly is a lot more fulfilling. To be able to create a cool supplement and then to be able to uniquely illustrate it, to have everything that's in the book be directly referenceable or relevant to the content on the page that is being drawn on is just, it's a thrill. It's a huge thrill. So I'm excited about the future, about where this is going, what it builds, what I invested so much time in small niche products like Color Magic that I don't think I've ever really experienced the satisfaction of building something that's generally needed or desired. And this will be that first large project. So I love Color Magic, don't get me wrong. There's like a ton of stuff I can do with it, but that's stuff I can fall back on when I need to take a break or I'm bored. Spelljammer is so cool. I could spend the rest of my life just doing Spelljammer stuff. The question is, am I incentivized to continue producing Wizards content specifically and placing it on the DM's Guild? I don't know. They take a pretty big chunk of change. They take a 25% cut of any profits that I make for using their IPs. So like, if I'm going to publish on the DM's Guild, Spelljammer makes a lot of sense because that's a Wizards IP, and I can't officially use anything in the Spelljammer book like Hammerhead ships, Squid ships, Neogi Death Spiders, Neogi themselves. These are all Wizards things that need to be on a Wizards site for me to be able to legally use them without infringing on their copyright, which is what DM's Guild provides. It's just a matter of, does the DM's Guild offer me as much opportunity as, like, say, a Kickstarter campaign? Absolutely not. Kickstarter is far superior, but I also require, 70, 80, 200, 5,000 people investing in it beforehand. So I need more things to demonstrate what I'm capable of doing so that people would be trusting to invest in the Kickstarter. So these projects are a decent setup for saying, hey, these are the kind of things I can produce. And now that I'm streaming the entire process online, like, what risks are there to completing this product? Well, I mean, death over time is always an issue, but you can't really take that into account. So you'll be able to see the production of this literally every day. Like, if I get paid $200,000 for a Kickstarter someday, I can quit my day job and just do that 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then have all of my weekend free to spend with fam and friends. And it's like, how's that project coming along? I don't know. What's Phil doing right now? Shit. Phil figured out that creature mechanic that he was talking about yesterday. Good job. But I can't kickstart this project because it's a DM's Guild Wizard of the Coast thing. But like the mass combat system, I could put that as a Kickstarter and publish it on my own site or on Drive-Thru RPG, both, honestly. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I can do. Once I reach that lift. I'm really leaning in today. Anyway, I'm on ramble. It's probably because I don't get a lot of sleep. I'm on ramble mode. There. Itchy toes. Hey, Ornetico, it's good to see you, my guy. Zomap, hey, Comap, hi. Nice to meet you, guy. Did you catch me on the front window? It's what time are we at? We're a minute and 20 seconds. Screw it. I'm gonna have a sip of coffee right now, anyway. Yeah, here's what this is, the Ori station and the Wild Space Ori for the DM's Guild project that we're building here. Spelljammers, Combat and Exploration. Here is the 108-page Word document that we've done layouts for. You can see we're dropping in images as we go. We're finishing up this first section here for equipment and ships. We've completed, let's see, scroll down here. Get through all the combat stuff. We haven't done combat yet. Well, we've done a little bit. We've got the spellcasting section, which isn't dropped in here yet, but we finished the spellcasting section. We'll have to do the exploration section. We've finished we finished the creature menagerie section. We're working on hazards and equipment right now. And then we've got sketches out for the random system generator, Appendix 1. So once we finish the current work docket of the equipment section, then we should be finishing up the hazards as well. Like, we're almost done with hazards on the side. I don't do a lot of that stuff here on stream. But the hazards are almost done. So we've got maybe 60 pages of illustrations left to do. I mean, like 60 pages that need illustrations. And there's probably about 40 illustrations amongst it, but a lot of them are going to end up being like charts and diagrams of like how ships move, how ships scale into each other and stuff like that, like mechanics, not necessarily illustrations. Once we get, there's probably like maybe 25 actual illustrations that we need to do inside the exploration and the combat section. most of it, like I said, is going to be diagrams and stuff, like arrows pointing at stuff and moving around, and, like maneuvering and stuff like that. But I'm pretty happy with how that's coming along. So this thing's coming along. Ooh. We're listening to Epidemic royalty-free music that I subscribe to. It's like $7 a month, I think. For while I pay $7 a month, they will never question whether I have rights to use any of the music they identify as licensed through Epidemic. So let's fix his hair, and then we can start dropping in color. And once we drop in color, we'll be able to do the lighting effects for the orrery, projecting the hologram up into the system. And basically, this is like a zoom in here, and this is a light lit here. So we'll have like little we'll illustrate this planet, and this is a sun, so we'll create radiance with that. And then this will zoom in to this planet specifically. And then this planet can have ships orbiting them that you'll be able to see. So like this is a way for you to be able to navigate, interact with, and target through using spells other ships and things in the system. So depending on the scale that you're working with and how many spell slots or spell points or what level spell you're willing to spend to be able to target stuff at greater distances. So which is a fun system. Very, very appropriate for Spelljammer. But the orrery system that we have developed here helps lean into like the mechanics of like, why can you do that? Like, how does that make sense? You know? Let's say it right. We'll need to build a book of subclasses to use the mechanics that we introduced in this book, like Path of Road Rage and Siege Commander archetype for the fighter. We'll think of stuff. I know Hornetico's thinking a few things already. I think when I finish the line art here, instead of dropping into color today, we're going to go back to the Illithid Fightercraft illustration that we were working on. That's almost where we're at right now. So where are we at? 7:30 right now. So, Matt, what's going on, man? Did you find us through recommendations on YouTube front page? Discord, Reddit, or Twitter. I'm always curious when I see new faces. That's right. I'm gonna scratch in the hair because that's gonna end up being just a ton of smudge work. Give me the old pirate cap treatment. The do-rag. Yeah, I like that. We are just about at the point where we want to start colorizing this. So we'll save that for another day. Save here. I'm gonna stitch this shut for the moment. I'm gonna go back to our Lithid Fightercraft. Work on that a little bit more. So this is just about to the point where we want to start colorizing it. I mean, we're already starting to color, but I'm taking it a step further. So let's see where we are at. So I'm pretty happy with the nautiloid in the background. There we go. There's a mid-range cuttlefish and the front-range cuttlefish. Here's our reference document stuff. Here's the token that we built for a nautiloid at the 50, 100, 150, 200 feet long at the 50-foot scale. Here's the little cuttlefish, which is 5, 10, 15, 20. It's a 20 by 20 fighter craft. So this thing is 20 feet. This thing's 20 feet. This thing's 200 feet. This page is talking about landing and terrain for solid terrain craft like these cuttlefish that can move along the ground, and then liquid terrain ships that can land in the water and potentially move in it. So we're looking at the different types of vessels. Nautiloid cannot land on ground. So if this thing does land, it'll basically like tilt over and it'll shake up everything inside of it, called scuttling. But it can land on the water and it can move through water. It can paddle itself or push itself with sails to traverse the water at a speed of 35 feet normally, 15 feet against the wind, 50 feet with the wind. All these cuttlefish fighter craft can land on solid ground and can move 50 feet per round as its base movement speed. So these things can chase down people. And then if we go back and look at a reference document here, you can see how the cuttlefish works inside this 20-foot space. But it's got this little hatch at the back that throws people in, kind of like War of the Worlds. It would grab people with its tentacles and then stuff it into its cage, so that a lithid could, like, it has like little head hole that a lithic could eat their brain through. And the cuttlefish itself can feed off of the psychic energy of sentient creatures. So these cuttlefish are basically baby nautiloids that end up growing up into massive craft. So we're in the process of illustrating the cuttlefish here. So let's go here to the lower detail. Line. The line art will eventually have to merge into the how we want to do this. How do we want to do this? We're going to, let's stick with coloring. And let's color here. Tentacles, and we'll call this one Tentacles. There we go. Colors. There we go. Doesn't have to be too complicated. We can have more detail on this one than we will on this one. So this one we just mostly want to work in lights and darks, make sure everything flows smoothly. We're using that cloud brush that we built on Saturday. I'm liking it so far. On our Saturday stream, I'm creating brushes and then using them to make a Bob Ross Joy of Painting landscape image as a demonstration for how brushes work. And it turns out we built a pretty damn good brush. This is a really good smudge brush, so I've been using it consistently since then, and I like it. I'm glad we're doing it. It was time to shake up the tool set that we were using anyway. We've been leveling up in our production speed and the quality of work that we're producing. Not necessarily demonstrated here because of how messy this line art is, but it'll end up looking cool. You'll see it. I'm gonna hit this a little lighter highlight. So yeah, that experiment is going incredibly well. Very, very pleased. Don't need to do a lot for tentacles. Let's go back here to there's our sketch. I can toss the sketch into the trash now. Body. We'll call it body. Body. We're about to fall into our last 20-minute block of time. I'm gonna go ahead and start that now. That'll put us at 7:56 when we finish. I'll be able to log in, log out, go do my day job, come back, and then we'll be back tonight to do Eberron artwork for NPC tokens and maps. We're here 5 days a week in the morning, just like this, building out this type of art Monday through Friday for a couple hours. Monday and Thursday is Eberron cartography and token production for the Eberron adventure that we're making that'll publish on the DMsGuild. Tuesday we do mechanical development for new game systems that are coming down the pipe from next year. The Marshall Power System is shaping up to be a badass machine. I'm actually looking forward to I'm going to publish it, I think, before 6E comes out. But I am more than happy to then immediately loop back around and start rebuilding it using whatever mechanics they come out with 6E. I'm sticking to the commitment of making sure that all of the color mana mechanics that I've created are compliant with 6th edition, even though I myself may be moving away from the DMsGuild in the future. Color mana is a Wizard of the Coast IP, and it's honestly it's a joy and privilege to be able to produce D&D content for that stuff. So I think the color mechanics should be on the DMsGuild. That feels appropriate, but I can do like any number of small projects I can put on Patreon, like a book of Golgari, a book of Boros, a book of Lorehaven, you know. As like fan work, using the fair usage policy content, I can put things on my Patreon for specific Planescape settings using the mechanics that you can look at on DMsGuild. And since I provide 100% free preview on everything that I publish on the DMsGuild, you don't actually have to buy it to use any of the stuff that I'll be publishing on my Patreon. But I can't kickstart any of that stuff because it's Wizards IP, and they don't allow us to kickstart stuff like that. So they're really limiting my ability to produce an income for me to produce more work for them. So that's driving me away from the DMsGuild to explore my own work, which is a shame because I like playing in their toolbox. But they have their rules, and I have to respect it. So, cheers. I spy with my eyes something beginning with text. Hold on 1 second. I'll plug in with you here in a second. Get that straightened up. You know? Where did I go? What up? Thank you. Those kinds of mechanics will be very beneficial to both my table and the tables of another GM and friend of mine. I love them. I just love mana in general. As an ad hoc resource, it's super fun. Like I like having things that require you to spend mana or magic to like for example, if you want to get a door opening and it's got a system panel that like you should be able to like wave your hand over it and the thing will open, but it's not working. Your rogue or your artificer can attempt to jumpstart the thing using thieves tools or artificer tools, but like you gain an advantage if you spend a point of mana while you're doing it to help like spark the system to make the thing jump. Or you can spend like 2 or 3 points of mana to give yourself not only advantage on the die roll to make that thing jumpstart, but like get like a D8 bonus on making the roll in the first place because you're overcharging it with mana energy to make the thing up and run. So like little things like that. Magic gear that you can spend mana ad hoc, like the blasting rods that I have in the color mana staff preview. For each point of mana you spend, you get like an extra D6 damage to it, which is horrible economy. But anyone that has a mana pool can pick up and start firing off, doing like 3 or 4 D6 damage per pop if they have enough mana to do it. So the more I use mana and stuff, the more uses mana has, you know? So happy with that. Let's grab this and then we'll do this. are you feeling, little fish? Here and here. Oh, there we go. There's like a little dwib over here. What is going on? What? Seriously? Something just is not adding up for me. That is super bright, dude. That should be coming through. What? Why is that? Why is that doing like it do? Sorry, I'm having a brain fart here because I don't know why that line art isn't coming through. Because I'm an idiot. And I'm on the wrong cuttlefish. There we go. We figured it out. Good job, Kearney. What a smart guy. What does it work? Oh well. We all have our stupid occasionally. There we go. It is to laugh. Yeah, that system is dope, man. I am really looking forward to exploring that some more. No. I'm gonna start play. I've been playtesting at my own table, but only from level 12 to 17. Sorry, almost 19 now. We should be 19th level next week. But yeah, so I've only done high-end testing. I need to do low-end, like 3rd to 8th level testing. So I'm gonna do some. I'm gonna open up a play as soon as this thing publishes. I'm gonna carve out some time to build a random dungeon crawl, and anyone that wants to play to have at least some of their mechanics be martial powers. Like they can, play a druid if they want, but I'd want to have like levels of ranger or something like that, so that they remain relevant to the testing content itself. But I plan on opening that up. We'll find out. We'll find out who wants to play and what times are available. But just to dick around and just throw mana around to make sure it's fun. Because I still need to build out the DM section, and honestly, it'd be great to have some playtesting in just to make sure that random strangers use the toys the same way that my home table does. Because honestly, they're captured. Like they're devout cultists of the House of Phil. So I need to get people that are a little less indoctrinated, that'll offer pushback if something like for example, I have a ton of exploits that are hyper focused on specific skills. After the testing, it may feel fair that like it shouldn't be so siloed. Like if I'm gonna spend mana on a skill, I should have more choice of what that skill might be or something like that. Like I don't know what we might run into. I think it's worth exploring. I'm just concerned that my home table is too captured, too compliant, and too in love with the stuff that I build to offer proper external feedback. So it just made sense since the thing's in a place where people can actually actively use it in a campaign, to have more people use it. And even though I make the document available for anyone to look at, I don't think there's a lot of motivation from people to do so. It's not like I'm MCDM or anything with like a shitload of fanatic fans that are just willing to devote their life to testing my ideas. You know, maybe I will someday. Oof, that looks pretty rough. But we'll see what makes sense for my schedule and see who's interested in playing, and this be like a random dungeon sort of thing. Just old school hex crawl, no plot. Just gathering, you know, defeating stuff, conquering traps, exploring the dungeon, using all the tools in the toolkit that we built for people just to be able to extract magic and loot from a dungeon to help their village or whatever. Like super old school dungeon crawl style stuff. Because plots, I mean, plots are free. It doesn't. You don't have to spend resources to have a conversation with somebody, unless it's a really weird conversation that requires you to spend mana to have conversation with them. Like the way that I like to run devils and demons and angels is they cause psychic damage as you talk to them. It's like picking up resistance to psychic damage while you're planning on talking to demons is a good idea. Like, I don't need to playtest that specifically. There we go, that looks cool. Time for chaos. Well, I mean, I'll let you know when it's running. So when we get there, we'll figure it out. And if it lines up, then welcome to the table. I'm kind of planning on West marching it to have like 5 people, first come, first served, you know, that sort of thing. And on a weekly basis, first 5 people that log in get to play. That way, if I cast a wide enough net, it's fair when I limit the table to X amount of people. But thanks, Essie. I will keep you on the loop. Ping me on Twitter to let me know that you're interested, so I have you on my roster. And if you haven't checked out the Martial Powers playlist, that is a separate that's like a 90 episode playlist at this point that we'll be continuing tomorrow. Right now we're translating all the martial class subclasses into the martial power system and giving them bonus power kits. Like a cleric has his domain spells, then all the martial characters will have their archetype powers that default, that you just automatically get them as you gain levels, just like default spell lists. So. Something like that. Yeah, that's good enough. Leave that be. And we'll move to the foreground and chew on that one for a little bit. Tentacles. Tentacles. What the why? Got 5 minutes left before we're done for the day. Tentacles. Period. Tentacles. Tentacles. Second verse, same as the first. Obviously still very rough, but that's part of the process of smoothing this stuff out once we get there. It's good enough for us to color for now. So we're going to be back tonight doing Eberron character art. We still got a couple NPC tokens that we need to finish the art for. That'll probably finish the day, but then once those tokens are finished, maybe we'll have them done a week from Thursday. I suspect because we want to finish the line art, and that's been taking a while because we've been having a lot of fun while we're doing it. And but then once we have the line art done for all of them, then we'll come back through and we'll colorize all of them like we do. That's good enough for now. Hey, look at that, it worked. Finally. And then tomorrow lunch, we'll come back and we'll work. Hopefully we can get two subclasses done tomorrow. We're working on fighters right now. And I'm going to save the Battle Master for last, but I think I'm honestly going to have the most fun building the Battle Master. I think that's going to be super cool. Because almost everything from the Battle Master has been translated into the martial power system, so it's just a matter of changing your resource away from the superiority die equals do this thing to spend a point of mana, and then you get your die to do this thing. It's kind of like 6 or a half dozen, but it really does make a difference. Because you can do so much more with the mana than just a maneuver, a combat maneuver, right? Because the system is meant to do a lot more than just fight. It covers all the different types of exploration that you can do with different mana options to help supplement what you're trying to achieve. Which will be really useful like in a hex crawl type of game if we playtest that. West Marches are pretty efficient for getting large cycles of different opinions on. Yes, absolutely. It's just, I guess it's just going to be a matter of how many people are willing to participate at the time that we pick. Until after school. Well, it would either be Monday night, Thursday night, or Saturday like noon East Coast time. So it wouldn't be in the mornings like this. It'd be in the off hours. It should make it a lot easier for people to participate in general. And hex crawl style, it'll be really easy to do, like just drop in, drop out sort of stuff. We'll see. Yeah, that's my time. All right, got to go. So we'll go ahead and hit the brakes for now. This piece is almost done. We got to finish up these cuddles. Got to put in some texture here, and then I need to have some victims. So we should have this one finished. I don't know. Maybe I'll finish it off stream, and focus our attention on stream tomorrow on the navigator. Where's he at? Here we go. Page 6. Continue working on this guy got some chart stuff I need to do up here. I don't think I'll bore you guys with that stuff. I'm going to do that off stream on Saturday. We finished this piece for the regenerated piece. Just a simple little ship. And then we're working on a Hellfish. So that's where we're at for today, guys. I'll be back in about 11 hours to do Eberron tokens. Like, subscribe. I'm here 6 days a week, 9 times during those 6 days. Yeah, I'll see you guys on the other side. Thanks a lot for playing, guys. See you on soon. Where's my off button?